Today we're talking about SQ3R and how to write a summary, okay? So before you watch this video, I want you to look through the SQ3R PowerPoint and then also download this summary guidelines. You don't have to have it printed, but we're gonna fill it out together for this article, I'm a Survivor. Okay, so the first step of SQ3R, and actually before I even get into it, SQ3R, it feels a little cumbersome at first, okay? But it is an active reading strategy that is research proven to help you improve your reading comprehension. Okay, and I think the main way that it does that is by forcing you to stay engaged in the reading, right? Because how many of us have gotten to the end of an article and we're like, I have no idea what I just read. Nope, no idea, right? This will help you prevent that because you're doing stuff with the reading the whole time. So the first step of SQ3R is survey. So in the survey step, there are two parts. The first part is connect to prior knowledge. Okay, the second part is to survey the material. So why we connect to prior knowledge, right? It's important. When we learn a new thing, we don't just throw it in our brain, okay? It's gonna rattle around in there and die. But if we throw in new information and connect it to what we already know, the research says that that will stick in our brain better. It'll be easier to recall it and find that information later. I'll stick it in my brain better. So I read the heading here, I'm a survivor, and I'm thinking, what do I know about survival? So people who survive stuff normally go through really hard things. They like to talk about what they survived. And so, yeah, it's probably going to be about this girl, maybe Joni Lopez, who went through a hard thing and she survived it. And I wonder what that hard thing is. So now I'm going to read through the rest of my headings and subheadings. Look for any pictures, text, or word tables, stuff like that. Okay, so my first one here is catastrophe. And then I have choices and survivor with some hurdles. Okay, so she's probably talking about more than one thing that she survived, right? Okay, now on to the Q step. In the Q step, I'm going to generate some questions over the material. Did you ever have a high school teacher or whatever that was gone, left you with a sub, and you're like, yes, movie day, but she leaves you with this long paper of questions that you have to follow and answer with the movie, right? You can't check out because you have to answer all these questions, you're gonna grade on this paper. The question step is kind of like that. I'm generating these questions to keep my engagement in the article. I'm also kind of developing some curiosity in myself, right? Forcing myself to be curious about this. So I want to know what the answer to my questions are. So I found that the best way to generate questions is by turning the headings and subheadings into questions. But you can come up with any questions that are interesting to you based on the reading or what you think it's going to be about. So my first question over the first heading is, what did she survive? You could also do, how did she survive it? Catastrophe, what was the catastrophe, right? How did she survive it? Third one, what choices did she make? And fourth one, survivor with some hurdles. So I'm curious about what those hurdles are. How did she survive them? Okay, so survey step, question step, read. So in my read step, I want to make sure that I'm reading small chunks of text, 10 to 15 pages at most. You don't want to sit down and like be reading your history book for 3 hours. You're not going to retain all of that information. If I read in small chunks and get up and do something else and come back to it, I'm going to have a higher chance of retaining that new information that I'm reading. Also, this is just kind of an intense reading process, and you don't want to keep doing it for hours. So The most important thing that I do while I'm reading is write. And there are lots of different ways that you can write while you read. Personally, what I like to do is a mixture of highlighting and annotating in the margins. So I'll kind of read a paragraph or a section and then take a minute, write a sentence about what that's about. I'm also underlining things that are repeated or that sound important to me, or that sound like they might be the main idea. So highlighting those things as well. Maybe I'm even circling words that I don't know. Okay, so take a minute, pause the video, read the article, and then come back to it for the last 2 steps of SQ3R. All right, so now you've finished reading the article. The last 2 steps of SQ3R are recall and review, and they happen after I finish the reading. So normally, right, what we do when we finish reading, close our book, get up, go get a snack, start thinking about what I'm going to do over the weekend or what I'm going to have for dinner, right? And most of the process of forgetting happens immediately after we learn something, okay? So I want to interrupt that process of forgetting. So I'm going to take a minute, close my book, and try to remember what were the main ideas there. So what was the whole thing about? That's really our topic. What was the whole thing about? Really, it was about how Joni survived, right? Not just the car wreck, but other things as well, but how she survived. And then, what was my main idea? What's the point that she's trying to make about her survival, right? She talks about she survived because she kept going and because she learned some strategies, practiced them to help her be successful, right? So every major thing that she talks about how she survived, she also talks about some things that she did to make herself successful in that case. So that's our main idea. And then what are some of the big things that she survived? She first talks about the car wreck. Then she talks about like her not primary school, but her like K-12 experience. She survived her K-12 experience and graduated with her high school diploma, even though most people from her elementary school didn't. And then the last thing was the college math, right? She survived college math. So that is kind of what it looks like. So now I want you to take out, done with SQ3R, that's the recall step. In review, we take our annotations and tame them into notes or talk to a friend about it. There's lots of different stuff that you can do in the review step. But today we are going to write a summary as our review step. So first you're going to take out this summary guidelines paper, okay? And we're gonna fill it out together. Writing summaries is an important skill, right? Not only in academics, but in life. Like most jobs that you're going to take, you're gonna have to write a summary, right? Which product should we purchase? That's like my husband has to write that kind of summary. Charting, if you're a nurse, that's kind of like writing a summary. So anyway, it's an important skill. Don't give up on it. All right. So I'm gonna write down the title of the article. I'm a survivor. Author, Juanita Joni Lopez. Topic, surviving. My main idea. What I wrote was that anyone can survive hard things through perseverance and strategies, right? That's kind of her point through the whole thing. The things that she survived, but also her point is that anybody can survive anything through perseverance and strategies. Okay, and then what are the 3 things specifically that she's overcome? The car wreck, like we talked about, and so she gets help when she needs it, and she stays strong so that she can push herself in her wheelchair. Public school, by making new friends that had the same goal that she had. And then college math, she survived that by reviewing the tests, talking to professors, and coming up with new study strategies. So, summary guidelines. And then you're just going to take that same information and plug it in here in the back. Okay, so that looks more like a paragraph, right? And then for homework, you're going to read the Gretchen Rubin article, The Remarkably Simple Secret to Forming Lifelong Habits. And then you're going to write a summary over that and send it to me through Turnitin. So I'll also post a video about how to use Turnitin in case you haven't ever done that before. But, okay, so on the back, my summary paragraph looks like this. In the article, I'm a Survivor, Juanita Joni Lopez discusses her ideas on surviving. That's my topic, right? Most of what she says seems to support her main idea that anyone can survive anything with perseverance and strategies. She supports this idea with several key pieces of information. First, she overcomes a car wreck in which she loses function in her legs. She learns how to move in a wheelchair and ask for help. Second, she graduated one of two from her elementary school because she was determined and found friends with similar dreams. Finally, she initially wasn't successful in college math, but she kept trying and used more successful study strategies. So those are my three major details. And then ultimately what Lopez is trying to convey through her article is anyone can be successful if they keep working and learn and implement helpful strategies. So there's my summary. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And I can't wait to read your summaries. Please record it. Please.